Yes, Pramod.
Yes, sir.
Shall we?
Yes, sir.
A very good evening to each one of you, those who are present on the platform of iSPELL, which means Indigenous Society for the Promotion of English Language and Literature. Wishing you all a very, very happy new year. And today is Vishwa Hindi Divas, the 10th of January. We are celebrating the 75th anniversary of our Vande Mataram. So on this particular day, 10th of January 2026, again we are starting the event of iSPELL. The acronym iSPELL, as I told, stands for Indigenous Society for the Promotion of English Language and Literature. We had 120 continuous Sunday Sahityak Satsang, and then we started with bang. That's what we call monthly Sahityak Satsang. Today we have a wonderful scholar, a scholar who has not only worked on various issues related to language and literature, but a scholar who has been involved in projects funded by RUSA, a scholar who has taught in the college and the university. I am introducing to you Dr. B Padmanabhan. Dr. B Padmanabhan is from Bhartiyar University, Coimbatore, and he has cleared UGC NET in 2009, and he has done his PhD from Dravidian University, Kuppam, India. As far as his professional experiences are concerned, he has completed one project of 5 lakhs and another project of his is ongoing, which is of 19 lakh 54,000. He has guided 3 PhD scholars and ongoing 4 MPhil, completed 33, and he is the member of various national bodies of the country. At the same time, he has published 45 research papers in the international journals and 4 in the national journals, with conference papers in international 34 and national 17, and he has 17 chapters in the books and 4 books to his credit. Such a wonderful scholar, Dr. Padmanabhan, is with us today. So we welcome Dr. Padmanabhan on behalf of Indigenous Society for the Promotion of English Language and Literature. Dr. Padmanabhan, you are most welcome today on the
Thank you, sir.
platform of iSPELL. Dr. Padmanabhan is going to speak on memory studies in literature. Friends, all of us, we search for memories. Even when we buy a mobile phone, always we look into the memory of the mobile phone, right? And even our memories, they do diminish. Our memories, we recapitulate. Our memories, once again, we go back to our childhood days, the days of our youth, and we just not only remember them, but we do smile with those memories. So let us smile, let us remember, let us stand together to listen to Dr. Padmanabhan. Padmanabhan, the stage is all yours. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Most respected Ghanshyam sir and my dear friend Dr. Pramod and respected Murali Krishna sir and all respected members of iSPELL. Good evening to one and all, and it gives me immense pleasure to be part of this elite group of English teachers. And I'm sorry that I have not mentioned the names of others, but I sincerely believe I know many of you. But these are my close friends, and so I have mentioned my wishes to all of you, my respects. And I thank Ghanshyam sir and Pramod sir for this wonderful opportunity to talk to a set of English teachers, a dedicated set of English teachers who continue to improve their knowledge. And also, they have given me the opportunity to choose a topic. Right. So that I have chosen this because I wanted to say something that what I know to a group of people who are very much into research, into teaching and research of English language and literature. So I thank all of you for this wonderful opportunity. And today we are going to discuss a few points. So it will be very much introductory. So in 50 minutes, I'll be telling you in a very introductory manner, what is this memory studies? Because as Sir was mentioning, Ghanshyam Sir was mentioning, memory is probed from multiple point of view. So it is not only from literary point of view. The people are studying this, people are moving, probing this human memory. Because more than any other time, we are living in such a times. So our contemporary period, especially, gives us ample opportunities to understand the role of memory and how human memory is being exploited, manipulated, right? So we are living in an age of not only politics, how memory is not merely politicized, but we are living in a period where we are not only facing political parties, but there are strategists, political strategists. Now, what are they doing? These political strategists, they decide what we should know and what we should think and what we should remember, right? So they decide on this. They manipulate, they exploit. So it is such a period that we are living in. We need to understand in better ways how memory functions, operates, and how memory is constructed. Is it a true record of events? No, that is the first question everyone will ask, whether memory, is it a true record of events? No, so we may think that yes, whatever happened to me, I have recorded I have preserved that in my memory. So, but there is the answer is that no, it is not a true record of events. No, we preserve memories according to our likes and dislikes, and they continue to change. No, it is not whatever we have kept in memory. So it may be a choice of political ideology, or it may be a religious preference, or whatever may be. So they continue to change. No, the intensity may change, the way we preserve information, the way we convert that information into knowledge may change. No, so more than any other thing, we are living in an age, where the necessity to learn, unlearn, and relearn. Now, these are the three important aspects that affect our choices, preferences. And so it is very much important during this period. Why people are very much into this? So yesterday we were conducting the interview for PhD admissions, and if 10 people come to interview, at least 5 6 said no, I will be doing my research on memory studies. And if you ask what is memory studies, then they will come out with some kind of an explanation. So whether they prepare or not, they prefer. It seems to be a fancy term, but more than any other thing, it becomes very much applicable, because literature, the primary utility or the primary purpose of literature is to understand human nature, how humans function, operate, live in a society, how do they form communities, how do they coexist, what are the factors that contribute to the forming of societies and the coexistence of various communities, and how this communication takes place. And when these questions are asked, there are basic questions about memory. The first thing is that, is it a fixity? No, it is not a fixity. Memories are not fixed things. No, they continue to undergo changes. Whatever memory that we preserve, will not be the same till the end of our lives. So, in this lecture, let me first explain the design of this lecture for the next 50 minutes or so 45 minutes. I'll be telling you what is this, what is memory studies with relevance to literature. Now, we are not talking about memory studies in the context of other branches of knowledge. But when it comes to literature, what are the aspects? Now, how do we study human memory in literary context? So usually we prefer to study, whenever people go for doing research in memory, they will immediately go for partition memory, some traumatic memory, like that they will choose. So that is the first thing. What is memory studies? Now, how it is related to literature and the background, how it has emerged as a branch of study in English and in the context of English, and who are all the major contributors. Now, as I told you, this will be very much primitive introductory kind of study. What is memory studies in the context of literary studies, and then the background, how it has emerged as a branch of study in literature, and then who are all the major contributors, and then the major theories associated with this, and the difference between history and memory. So we may not think that both history and memory are the same. So it is not so. History is different from memory, and how these two things are different. And I'll explain further concepts and focus of memory studies. What are the basic concepts and what are the aspects that it focuses? And then I'll talk to you about the relevance of memory studies in literature, how literature and memory studies are related, and also the research methods that are associated with memory studies in literature. When we pursue memory and the studies associated with memory, what kind of research methods that we can employ in literary texts. So that will be my next one. And then in the final phase, I will explain the concepts. What I will be talking to you for about 40 minutes. Now, I will explain with the text. I have chosen this Sense of an Ending. Many of you might have heard about this novel. I'll explain. I have chosen some quotes from that text, and also I'll try to explain how the questions related to human memory can be explained through the study of a novel. Like novels and poetry. If time permits, I'll go with one more poetry. I come from there, and I have chosen another poetry also. I have chosen two literary texts to explain how we can employ these concepts in literature or literary texts. So usually people prefer to study these things with novels and also some poetry, because memory is always associated with those Holocaust and trauma, war trauma. These are all the important things. So I'll explain in the final 5 minutes or so. I will explain what are the questions that we may ask in a literary text, and how we can find answers to those questions in a literary text. So here I have some few questions, and then to explain those questions, I have those quotes from the text also. So that is the design of this lecture. So please let me share my PPT. One second. Right. So is my PPT visible, sir?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Right. So we'll go to understand what is this, what is actually memory studies. It is an interdisciplinary study, as we know. It is not related to only one particular field of knowledge. It has brought together multiple aspects. No, it is people, when they try to understand how things are preserved, how they are retrieved, and how memory functions. This is a question that has been asked long back. So while Freud was attempting to explain human nature, and he has identified to use dreams. Later on, when people identify, Freud first explained dreams. So now these cognitive scientists look at the same thing, look at dreams. No, they have used dreams from a different perspective. Now, I'll tell you about one particular paper by that was written by one Isabella Jean. No? So Jean, that is the spelling. No? She has written about the neurochemistry of dreams. No, that she explains how the dreams, what are the functions of dreams. No, why do we have dreams? No, what is there any meaning to the dreams, and how do they occur? No, Freud initially attempted to explain the dreams are the expression of suppressed emotions, like that. No? But later on, these cognitive scientists have identified the dreams have a function. What is written in Isabella Jean's paper, she has identified, yes, the cognitive scientists have mentioned that the dreams occur for this purpose, for augmenting the memory. What is augmenting memory? To remove whatever is not necessary and to strengthen whatever is to be preserved in memory. So it is this purpose we are having dreams like that. So later on, now these cognitive scientists, neuroscientists are explaining the purposes. How information is processed, how human brain processes information. No, it is not the previous concepts. Now we people have a very scientific, based on neuroscience. They understand. So this is how information is processed. What are the elements that control our human brain? So there are two important chemical substances, amines and cholins. No, they only control human brain. So during our waking hours, one element, and during our sleeping hours, another element. Like that, it is scientifically explained. So now it includes, when it comes to memory studies, it is not only about literature or purely about psychology. It is more than that. It is cognitive science, it is neuroscience. They all have been brought together, and some information is also been given to the philosophical understandings of human memory. Previously people thought that there are only two things, mind and brain, like that. So there is a dichotomy. People have identified emotions are processed at one place, and facts are processed at a different place. Like that was the philosophical understanding, but now it is not so. It is all processed in human brain, like that. So there are it is more of a scientific field. So here it is not philosophical understanding or anything that is identified theoretically. No, it is not so. So how do we understand memory? We understand it is a tool for remembering the past. But now people think it is not merely remembering, but it is also about forgetting what we are made to forget. So we are made to forget certain things, some trauma, some significant event, that it is both remembering and forgetting. So both have some a political dimension, some cultural dimension. So we are previously we had only such mechanism to remember things. So these cultural rituals, every year we are celebrating some rituals to reinforce our cultural values, that the victory of good over evil. It is getting reinforced every year whenever we celebrate Deepavali or whenever we celebrate those puja holidays, that puja. Like that, no, say every culture will have its own mechanism to reinforce its cultural values and rituals. So previously, people thought only yes, it is a tool for remembering. Memory is about remembering. But now, what is understood is that it is not only remembering, but politics or this cultural politics or various other things, they include uh, in this aspect also. What is that? Whatever we have forgotten, whatever we are made to forget, also is included in memory. So certain elements. So I have written a paper on this particular aspect some time back, some 10 years back. You all might have heard about this a long road into deep north or so. So long march into deep north, like that. No, there is a novel that was published some 10 years ago. I forgot the title exactly, but it won Booker Prize also. To Deep North, like it, the end. It was about one particular event about the death railway that happened in Thailand and Burma during the Second World War. He was writing about the Australian soldiers, no, who suffered a lot in the Japanese captivity in that particular thing. But to our surprise, who are all the there were about 5,000 people or so, some white people suffered in that particular event, that death railway, it was identified as. But there are lakhs of Tamil people suffered in the same event. But there was no literary work that narrates the trauma, that narrates the sufferings. There was one person who has published a work. No, he was there in Malaysia. He has published a work in Tamil, but it remained unnoticed. That book remained unnoticed. No, I found that book somewhere with the publisher, and the publisher was shocked. No, how do you know that there is such a book like that? He asked, and he gave me that book, and I wrote a paper on this. How those people remember things that affected their history, that affected their past. How do they preserve memories, and how we forget even important elements. People who moved from here. Lakhs of people died in that railway project. And so it is not only a tool to remember, but even about forgetting also, that we were made to forget, and we were made to think in a different way, that whatever our history narrates or portrays us as something different, and for them in a different way, like that. Okay, so what to remember and how to remember? How we can remember, and what are the things that we should remember, and what are the things, most of the things remain unrecorded, and they were not brought to our attention most of the time. So even about our history, our educational system, our religious practices, our knowledge systems, we may not have a mechanism to remember those things. We remember not only in India, everywhere. That is what the primary focus of the post-colonialism. It's how do we remember our own history, our own history influenced by the colonizer. We believe ourselves as inferior, and the others also look at ourselves, look at us from a dominant point of view. A white man thinks these people are superstitious, these people are like this, these people are poor, and they remain to be unscientific. So that is what they a narrative. No, there is a dominant narrative, and there is a subjugated narrative, like what Gayatri spivak. Can the subaltern speak? No, when the subaltern began to speak, we tend to remember, yes, these are the things that I want to remember, I want to record, I want to preserve for posterity, for future generations. I want this to be communicated to my own future generations. They should learn from this, they should understand from this. So these things happen during the later part of the 20th century, that what to remember. So usually these subaltern histories. So if we talk about partition, we have certain narratives, and if we happen to look at the traumatized narratives of the tribes, not many are brought to our mind. So the traumatized narratives of people. So sometime back, we may have heard about a wonderful book, The Adivasi Will Not Dance. No, that book records a kind of memory that has to be preserved. It wants that the memory has to be preserved in that way. It is not in the other way. It is not from the other person's perspective, and how we understand that. A colonizer will look at us from a different perspective, and the colonized will have a different perspective. And during the same time, it was when this Adivasi Will Not Dance was so popular, it was selling like anything. There was another book also, which we have analyzed, myself, Pramod sir, when we were attending a refresher course, we analyzed that book, Gachar Gochar. These two books occupied the top charts. Hindustan Times used to publish the top selling books. I think no other publishing house, no other newspaper is publishing this. No? And these two books occupied the top things. That book preserves certain things to be remembered in particular way. And this Adivasi Will Not Dance, or even the Northeastern literature, Temsla Aus literature, or Eastern Kir's literature, Mamang Doy's works. They want to preserve certain things, and from their perspective. It is not from our perspective or from another person's perspective. What to remember and how to remember. This is what the question. So memory studies focused on these aspects. What are the things that people? It is not only the dominant narratives, but the marginalized histories, the histories of the people who were kept at the margins of the human societies and communities. Not only the dominant narratives also continue to exist, and what they prefer to record, to preserve, they want to preserve certain things that are primary to their concern. As I told you, this Gachar Gochar, this novel, prefer to record certain things. And most importantly, why this particular question, what to remember and how to remember, is that so how past reshapes or past shapes our present. So what kind of lesson that we learn from the past, from our past. And another important thing is that this cultural remembrance. So how we are forced to remember things. And in the particular thing in memory studies, they emerge from this aspect, because this identity politics. So now identity politics will have multiple dimensions. It emerged during the middle of 20th century. So everywhere, many countries become free countries. Why? How do they become free countries? Because of the first problem is that national identity. They wanted to establish their national identity, and then there is religious identity, linguistic identity, cultural identity, ethnic identity. All these things play a role. No? So they only determine this politics. No? It is not always a political party carrying this. No, that one political party may carry this national identity. So that happened before freedom. And during the freedom movement, there was national identity. There was a quest for national identity, that Indianness. We try to establish that Indianness, what kind of this qualities are associated with that. And so we prefer to remember those aspects that define our Indianness, our national identity. And then we try to reinforce again and again. So see, for example, we had partition. In the beginning, it was based on the religious lines in 1947. There was no identity politics, determined by the religion. And so those memories are different. And in 1971, there was again a partition that happened based on the linguistic lines, that Bangladesh or East Pakistan happened on the linguistic lines. So identity politics that emerged after 1950s, after many free countries, after the emergence of nation states, the ways of remembering the past is not determined by the colonizers' way. Now, before that, the history is determined, is dictated, is recorded by the colonizer. And so there was only one way of understanding. So after 1950s and so, the emergence of identity politics all over the world, it is not only in our region, all over the world, it is identity politics. It is either national identity, cultural identity, ethnic identity. Why we have the problems in Northeast now? So it is largely determined by the ethnic identity, that people wanted to preserve their ethnic identity. So the emergence of this identity politics in after 1950s, and because of the emergence of nation states, contributed to this. What has to be preserved? So everywhere people wanted to preserve their own national history, their own national heroes. They wanted to preserve. Yes, this is what the posterity, the generations of people here in this piece of geographical entity or this land, they have to remember, and how it has to be remembered. Now we are remembering as so this is a particular person. He is such a wonderful person. This political party has won us freedom, and these are the things that happened. How we have won the freedom. We determine how it has to be remembered. So there are multiple ways of remembering the past. We not only remember the past from rituals, from events, but we have different sites of memory. It is all reinforced by the national flag, by the national emblems, by the national days, or it is getting reinforced. How the past is getting reinforced, how it is remembered again and again. We remember our struggles for freedom during every Independence Day, and how this constitution is created, this India as a constitutional entity created by the Republic Day, and various things that remember us. These are the ways, by celebrating national days, by celebrating these things, and we read from this, and we remember from different sites, from museums, from statues. Different statues are there. So when we look at it, we remember, yes, this is a great person, he contributed to this. So how do we remember? From the histories, from oral histories, from multiple things. And another important thing, so what are the things that emerged during 1960s and 70s? These things emerged. Cultural studies, with the people from the Birmingham Center for Contemporary Cultural Studies. So they have contributed, Raymond Williams, Frederick James, and those people. The emergence of cultural and trauma studies, they have redefined how we study memory. How do we remember memory? So people began to write about the trauma that they experience, the historical trauma, the cultural trauma, the personal trauma, testimonies. So with the works like Toni Morrison, Sebold. So what they have written is that no, they question the dominant narratives. Like so, the dominant narratives, like even Joseph Conrad, he was identified as an anti-imperialist, as if he questioned the intentions of the colonizer, the real intentions of the colonizer. The colonizer said, what is the purpose of colonizing? The Europeans stated that it is to civilize Africans, Asians, and other people. They wanted to civilize, but it is not so. It is not actually. But so the background is that no, it is the emergence of identity politics that redefined how do we remember the past. You know, how do we remember our rulers, our past rulers, our history, and the emergence of cultural studies, you know, which identify, no, it is not only the culture of the capital C, the culture of the elite groups, but whatever is the culture, whatever is a system, no, even the small c, no, that is how they identify culture. Means it is all the food habits, not the food habits of the upper class, but even the food habits of, no. So they were identified as, no, if a person has, that is why I have mentioned about Adivasi will not dance, where he speaks about the food habits, no, how people are considered to be inferior if they eat a particular kind of food. So it is identified. A particular kind of music is considered to be superior. It's cultured, capital C. And a particular culture, it's a music of mass entertainment. It's considered to be inferior. It is associated with the mass culture, popular culture. So these things contributed to the emergence of memory, how we remember. No, it is not from one particular person's point of view, or not only from the dominant narratives that we remember our history, even from the marginalized histories, the unconventional histories. It is not only from the um, conventional literary narratives, but even from the fragmented discourses of literary texts that we continue to remember the past. So here, what is that we primarily understand is that now how memory is a particular memory. It may be a personal memory, or it may be a collective memory of a particular group, or it may be a cultural memory, or a historical memory. Now, how it is represented, how it is constructed again and again. So it may be constructed. Sometimes it may be glorified. So an actual thing may have happened, and they will add a few more things to that, and they will glorify. Yes, this is what has happened, and this great person, he looked at poor people, and immediately he decided to give up everything and to sacrifice his life for the well-being of. That is how memories are constructed. They're not primarily. This is the function of memory. We continue to construct. We continue to modify our memory. We don't preserve memories as fixities. We will have a particular memory. We'll accept certain things as memory in one point of time. And after some time, we may give up. No, that is not, I don't subscribe to that belief anymore. Like that, we'll modify, we'll construct good or bad, like that. So, how memory is represented? How is it represented? As if an ignored memory or neglected memory. So that is how it is narrated. So if we look at this particular work, like Animals People, so it has narrated the disaster, the industrial disaster that has happened in India, and how it has been ignored from the popular discourses. That people were people were not given opportunities to remember that again and again. But the dominant discourses, they attempted to ignore this. They wanted to make people to forget that, as if such an industrial disaster that happened in India it was neglected. But the author presented that as if it is neglected history, as if it's a marginalized history, and how history is questioned, the real intentions of nation building, of constructing sites, or whatever. Many of the literary texts, they begin to question the established history, the established memory in the literary texts. So it may be an individual trauma experienced by an individual, or a collective trauma experienced by groups of people, or it may be about a cultural memory, or it may be about myths, rituals being practiced to reinforce memory and again and again. And it may be about post memory, how it is used in trauma studies. They use this particular term, post memory, because how memory is inherited from the previous generations. So that we can find in the works of northeastern writing, Temsla of Eastern Kir. They write about both these aspects, like cultural memories, collective memories, and the post memory, how it is transmitted to all those things. So trauma, testimony, remembering and forgetting. Both remembering and forgetting. We were made to remember certain things, and we were made to forget certain things. In both the ways. Now, memory, when we go for memory studies, we can study both the things. How certain things are ignored, or kept away from the popular discourses. We were made to forget by certain glorifications also. And then identity. So that is the primary thing. So fragmented narratives are the things. Now with all the aspects, now we shall see the major contributors to this memory studies. Now it all began from this particular person, the most influential person when it comes to memory studies, Maurice Hallbards. Now brought out a theory, the social framework, how it can be understood from the context of a society, how it is socially relevant, the social framework of memory, that was brought out in 1925, long back. And then it was by Eric Hobsbawm and Terence Ranger. They have brought out the intervention of a tradition. Why we have tradition? What is that in tradition? How do we remember or forget things in a traditional manner? That we follow certain rituals associated with birth, death, every aspect of human life. There are rituals. There are value systems. Why these rituals, festivals, and other things are there? They reinforce, and there are sites of memory. So they preserve. If you happen to visit temples here in South India, in Tamil Nadu and other places, you will have those huge towers where you can have all these things. There are statues that reinforce the past from one point of view. And there are other things. There are stories, there are oral narratives which reinforce. So they attempted to understand how these traditions reinforce these things, and why we are preserving all these things. Why we are having all these things. To what end these are directed towards? They are directed towards the survival of human beings. That is what is the final aim, this survival. Right. And then Pierre Nora, the person who pointed out the concept called sites of memory, like these things, like memorials, museums, statues, other things. How do they function to transmit memories? Where these are the places, the sites of memory are the places where public remembrance happens. Where the public will come and remember certain event in the past. Maybe some war, or some tragedy that may have happened, or some important thing. some significant thing that defined or redefined their history, their tradition, their ways of life. So it is from Pierinora, and then from Paul Ricoeur. It is from Paul Ricoeur. The focus was made towards forgetting also. It is not only memory, remembering, but it is also about forgetting. No, so we are made into that way. We are not only remembering certain things, and in due course, we forget certain things as if they are irrelevant to us or irrelevant to the popular discourses we subscribe to. And other important people are Jan Assmann, related to cultural memory, Kathy Caruth. This you all might have heard about, because closely associated with the trauma and narrative, and Marian Hirsch, associated with the post memory. These are all some of the major contributors to this particular field of study. And when it comes to major theories, the dominant theories of memory remain to be the social identity. So how do we establish our social identity and how it is associated with the historical memory? That is the first thing, social memory. Everywhere we try to establish our social identity. And collective memory of particular ethnic group or a linguistic group, how these things are reinforced again and again. For example, here in Tamil Nadu, we tend to sing a song that is known as Tamil Thai Valthu. So we celebrate, we worship our language as goddess. And so it is reinforced, a particular in the collective memory. We have to give more importance to language like that. So there is a collective memory everywhere. This particular group tends to believe. So it was actually brought up by Hallwrights. And other theories are associated with how shared representations of a community's past function. So how do they contribute to the emergence of various narratives and discourses? So any memory, it exists within the social context. It can exist only within the society. It cannot exist outside the social context. Whatever the society prefers to remember or forget, that is how the memory is preserved. If the society prefers to preserve a particular kind of memory, and it tends to ignore certain things as irrelevant. So this I don't want to continue. So that is how even now you could have seen some information, some news from Bangladesh that they destroyed the statues of their founding father, Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. His statues are destroyed. His house, those national and whatever is considered to be the identity of Bangladesh. So they were all destroyed because that community wants, no, this is not the way that we want to preserve our memory. We don't want to keep this. We don't want to keep ourselves identified as this tradition or this memory. We don't want to preserve. So they destroyed the statues of Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, and they destroyed anything that is associated with his own house, vandalized the National Museum, and wherever they wanted to preserve that, they're all being destroyed. They didn't want to continue any of this. And that is the same thing happened even when we were liberated. Many countries, they wanted to erase all those colonial emblems that indicate the colonial past, because they don't want to carry those memories of colonial past. Whatever is the society prefers to identify, wants to preserve certain things as in memory, the sacrifices of people and things what they consider to be important. And so there is a difference between collective memory and history. History is primarily narrated from one point of view, from a documented history, and the collective memory will be different. Now, people will not always subscribe to the recorded history, because they want. That is what we witness during our times. There is a recorded history in Bangladesh. Now, how this Bangladesh is created. Now, they don't want to subscribe to that. No. This is not. No, they want to create a kind of memory, a collective memory that is different from that of a historical context. So always there is a difference between collective memory and history. So what is the difference? Is that now memory offers different perspectives. It can be a marginalized memory. People who are marginalized will prefer to keep only certain things as memory. No, because marginalized memories they keep certain things. No, they are obsessed with certain things. They are obsessed with everyday living. Yeah, they are obsessed with food. They are obsessed with some rituals. They are obsessed with only basic emotions. No, because that is what they experience. But the elite narratives. So if you happen to read Chetan Bhagat's works, we will tend to believe that all the people in India are very much concerned about getting into IIT and getting into some multinational company. It is only that particular thing that he wants to record, only that thing. It is not beyond that particular group. The memory is offered from different perspectives. There is a marginalized memory. The marginalized sections will have one kind of a memory, that they will preserve certain things, and there is center. What is the central? There may be a political centrality, there may be certain things that are given more importance, and there is an individual memory. Individual memory is always different from collective memory. And collective memory is a combined belief, the people, and then there is symbolic, and then there is subjective. What I or any individual believes. So it takes root in the concrete aspects, in the different spaces, in particular spaces. So our personal memories will be in particular spaces, in our house, in certain things, in our grandma's house, in some temple. We will associate certain experiences with particular spaces, gestures, images, objects. So memory is different, and it has different perspectives. It has different modes, or it has different influences. But history is offered from the intellectual point of view. It is often subjected to critical analysis. It is actually a critical analysis. It is from intellectual perspective. And it also speaks about the temporal continuities. It's chronological. It happened in 1957, 1958, like that. No, but our memories are not organized in that particular way. We may forget things that may happen yesterday, and we may remember things that happened in the past. And it talks about relations between things, whatever is. How things are related, because history talks about how one particular thing is, how this place is related to that event, how this place is related to one individual, like that. But it ignores ordinariness. Ordinary things will not be found a reference in history. So when memory, it may about very ordinary thing, but history is not about that. But when it comes to the principal prominent concepts associated with this, there are multi-directional memory. It was brought out by Michael Rothberg. It is present. Present is characterized by variety of past narratives. What we are, how we are made. It is all determined by past narratives. And post memory. This we have talked about it already. The generational reconstructive memory. How memory is inherited from our previous generation and how it is constructed. So we reconstruct things according to our present conditions. We don't follow that blindly. We reconstruct. So now many of the rituals, many people even now perform the rituals in online mode also. We reconstruct that. We believe that it has to be done, but in that way. So some of the concepts that we have discussed are these things. What cultural memory, it is actually reinforced by societies and cultures by various forms, rituals, traditions, and other things. It requires support of a group delineated in space and time. It is different. It reflects the forms, problems, and aspirations of the society. This is how. If the aspirations become different, now in the Indian context also. So now, some time back, we have read novels like Raja Rao, Mulk Raj Anand, like that, which talked about the problems of colonial India. But now we are not portraying those things in our literary text, because our aspirations are entirely different. The aspirations of a younger generation is entirely different. And then the cultural or communicative memory, it was exteriorized. How it was brought out as rituals, how it is objectified, how it is portrayed in the public spaces through memorials, through statues, through some buildings, architecture, in these things. How it is stored in symbolic forms, monuments, museums, libraries, the archives, and other mnemonic institutions. How memory is preserved. This is discussed in these things. Cultural and communicative memory, and this communicative memory is not institutionalized. It happens in everyday communication. So it won't happen for more than 80 years. How we communicate our memories to other future generations. And then the focus of this particular study, memory studies, is the politics of public remembering. How public remembers or forgets certain things, certain events, certain rituals, certain traditions that people will decide. The rulers or the dominant people will determine what should be remembered by this public people. They should remember certain things, some things which may not have happened in the past, or which have happened in the past, something that is glorified, something that is less glorified. So it focuses on the social memory, how cultural resources for social and historical identities, how cultural resources contribute to this. Cultural resources like artifacts, literature, or even movie, cinema, or even mega serials. How do they contribute to this, to creation of social and historical identities, even political identities? So why some privilege is associated with particular readings? Why privilege is associated with a particular kind of narratives, discourses of the past, and certain things are neglected? Why this thing is happening? Why significant aspects of the past are ignored or kept in the dark? And why certain things are glorified or brought to the memory of the public again and again? So this is the focus of the memory studies. We can remember why this politics is happening, how people tend to do that, and why, especially in literature, how relevant is literature to the study of memory is this. It is because human memory is closely associated with the creation, experience, and transmission of a literary text. The author creates from his memory, and the text, it is created in the form of a text, and the reader experiences. How it is in all the stages, memory is associated. Encoding, the author is encoding. It is stored in the encoding an information, and it is stored in the form of a text, and the reader is retrieving the information from the text. So that is how memory is closely related to literature. When we read literature, we are performing these texts. So in the text, what is that we retrieve is the encoded information of the author that is recorded. And how are they formed? How are the information or memory are formed, function, and how do they manifest themselves? So these are the questions. which can be answered by probing the literary texts. Literature has this potential to represent the past in the present. No, it can communicate in an effective way. Literature, movie, or any cultural artifact has the potential to represent this. No, so literature or human memory or portrayal of the human memory, representation of the human memory can well be analyzed in literature. And so literature exhibits memory as a narrative tool. And what it narrates is that it narrates social, political, cultural issues. And so it is the better source to be probed. And so these are the questions. Now, how memory affects the experience of literature is that it establishes connections. It establishes connections with different experiences, recognizing the patterns of the narrative. How a narrative is constructed and brought out. What is the intention of the narrative? Whether the author wants to glorify certain things or wants to ignore certain things, and then patterns and symbols necessary to understand a text. What are the things? What are the background information that we require to understand a particular text? What are the symbols we need to understand from a text? So for example, if we go through animal farm, we require some information, some background information to understand this. And if we are reading, for example, a modern day writing like the white tiger, so to understand that white tiger, we need to have some background information that happened in the 1991, the post-liberalization India, and what has happened during the 1991 and after that liberalization. What is liberalization? What is economic liberalization? And how it has affected the social fabric of India. And so it establishes literature. So memory, we need to understand all these things in order to understand how memory is portrayed in literary text. And these are the research methods. In a literary text, what we can identify or analyze is that autobiographical memory, oral history. This is especially with Northeastern literature and most of the tribal literature, the experience, media, and remembering. So how media exploits or manipulates our remembering. So you may happen to read certain things which happen somewhere else, and we may not get the actual information that may have happened in our next door. There may have been an accident in the next door, and the media will not report that. It will report something that happened in North India, or it may something that happened in USA. The memoryscapes, multi-sited memory, how these memoryscapes, these are created, how ethnicity and memory, and the most important, significant thing nowadays, most people prefer to study these things. How trauma is memorized, is portrayed, testimony is portrayed, these apologia are portrayed. And here, in another 2 minutes or 3 minutes, I will explain one of these texts. So we have seen the basic information about memory studies. What are the important theories? What are the basic questions that are raised in the memory studies? Here I have chosen this novel, Sense of an Ending. And here memory is portrayed as a theme. So this is a novel about memory of the protagonist. Here how it is, it answers these questions. What is memory? Is it a truthful record of events like history? So that is the first question. No, it is not a truthful record. It is manipulated. It's reconstructed again and again. And how truthful, authentic is memory? And this text answers that it is not a truthful. Memory is not truthful. It is subjective. It is not a historical data to be verified. It is subjective, and it can be reconstructed again. I may have one memory in the age of 15, and in the age of 25, I may have modified that memory, and at the age of 45, I might have forgotten that altogether, or I might have modified that. The significance of that even may have increased or decreased. And what contributes to false memory? Is there a false memory? Yes, there is a false memory. We don't preserve things as such, as genuine facts or authentic facts. We preserve with our own assumptions, likes and dislikes. That is how we preserve. So what contributes to our False memory is prejudice, bias, and all other subjective views that we may have, cultural bias, religious bias, or linguistic bias, whatever. And how do our memories also change over the course of time? So how do they change over time? Because our experiences continue to change. At the age of 15, our experience will be different. At the age of 25, our experience will be continue to different, and 45, 60, like that. So it records, this particular text records the change of memory over the course of time. The protagonist looks at the same event from multiple dimensions. While he was a student, while he was a worker, and while he was a middle-aged man, and while he was an aged person. And he records that memories continue to change. The meanings that we derive from memory, they continue to change. And then the another important, do we really wish to make sense of the past? Why do we retrieve memory? Why do we remember things of the past? Do we try to make meaning why this has happened? Is it our primary purpose? So it is not so. So sometimes the remembrance may happen for other reasons also. Is memory reconstructive? Yes, it is reconstructive. And these are some of the questions that we can answer with any text. I have chosen this particular text, how human memory is portrayed in the novel Sense of an Ending. And these questions can be asked with any memory. So even the work like a narrow road to the deep north. I spoke about that in the beginning. Even with that, we can use this. What is the role of memory in constructing the self? How is self, the identity is created? It is memory functions, or memory is the primary role. It has a function. And do we remember all that actually happened? No, we don't remember everything that happened. We remember only select things. How is memory altered? These are some of the questions, and we have some answers. I have chosen some of the texts from, some quotes from the text. You can identify that history. How do they identify history and memory? It is imperfections. And how memory reconstructs after every event. We may not have involved in this particular event, the fall of communism. We may not have involved in that. Mrs. Thatcher, Margaret Thatcher, because Thatcher's rule, or 9/11 Twin Tower attack, or global warming, we may not have associated with this, but these things have the potential to alter our memory or influence our memory with the normal mixture of, because these are the things that influence our memory. So why these things influence, and how memory is altered or is made to false, is that so the text gives one beautiful example, stating that we live in time. It bounces and defines us, and time is supposed to measure history. This is the beautiful word that the author uses in that identifies. It gives answers to all these questions. We live in time. We are defined. It bounces and it defines us. Who we are. And so we reconstruct, and we tend to provide all the characteristics of a self according to this. So I think it is time. I have exceeded time. So I'll not go to this Palestinian poem, but you can go to this text and read these questions what we have discussed. And I thank all of you for your patient listening. And if you have questions, you may please ask. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Pramod sir, and Ghanshyam sir, for this wonderful opportunity. Thank you, sir.
Thanks a lot, Dr. Padmanabhan, for not only enlightening us, but at the same time speaking on various nuances related to memory studies. Indeed, it's a wonderful subject to study and also to do a lot of research on this particular topic. I would like to request the audience, those who are here on this virtual platform, if you have any queries related to this, any comment on this, kindly put forth your comment and queries to Dr. Padmanabhan. You're most welcome.
Hello.
Sir.
Hello, sir. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You're audible. Please, sir.
Sir, I am Dr. Lakshmikant Kapgate. Actually,
Sir,
I listened your speech and your thoughtful, lecture on memory studies. You
Sir, please.
spoke excellently on different topics. Sir, I would like to add a few information in this case, and I want to know your perspective in this context.
Sir, please.
Recently, in 2023, 22, and 25, there are
Sir.
three movies were released.
Sir.
Number one is the Kerala Story in 2023.
Yes, sir.
Second is the Kashmir Files in 2022.
Ah,
And recently in this, the Taj Story in 2025.
yes, sir.
So all these movies, all three movies are, I think, are talking about the flashback structure.
Yes.
So I want to know your perspective on these. That how do these films engage with the collective memories?
Yes, sir. No, that is what we need to discuss seriously. They contribute to discourse, which the majority of the community wants to establish or to preserve. That they think that this is being ignored in the previous times, and they were not brought to the prominent discourses, and they have been brought out, and see the kind of reception that they received. This is what the collective memory speaks about, no? Because a larger section of the society wanted to preserve that in that way, as it is narrated in that in those movies. They don't want to have the recorded history in the other way, right? So the other way, there may be a recorded history. It may have a different view, but as you have promptly identified, all these works, they wanted to provide a new perspective. No, they wanted to, so as we have discussed, it is the politics of memory. No, they wanted to manipulate, or they wanted to establish this in the memory. So this may not be preserved as actual history, but in the popular discourses, these things will have more influence than a recorded history. As you have identified, the more significance will be with this collective history. Yes, as any artifact for that matter. Now, previously, the literary texts have the influence, and now the more importance is associated with movies and those web series and all those media scapes, as we have seen. So that is the way, and they continue to exist as long these majoritarian discourses. No, so the dominant views continue to exist. They may be politically dominant, or as long these discourses continue to exist, these will be in the cultural memory, in the memory of the collective memory, because they are accepted, or they are promoted by a vast section of the society. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for your wonderful answers.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Is
Sir,
there any?
I have one question. Can I
Ma'am, please.
ask question?
Ma'am, please,
I'm
please.
Dr. Krati Sharma, and I have also done a course on memory studies from NPTEL, and I've listened to your lecture today. My
Sir.
question is that how we can take this memory studies for projects, like how we can write research project and get funding on it, because learning we have done, we have understand it, but now
Yes,
we have to go beyond that. So, sir,
yes,
kindly
certainly.
suggest me that.
Yes, ma'am. No, so we can analyze, as previous question was like that. Now, how do these media scapes, how media influences the collective memory or popular discourses, or even if we can establish that it is bias. So because now many people believe that bias is also been promoted in the discourses. So it can be analyzed the bias. It may be linguistic or cultural or any kind of bias that is prevalent. You know, we can make an analysis of the bias that is influenced on the public discourses, that we all may have been influenced by certain bias. We may believe, yes, this particular people as. So there is a beautiful observation here now, given by one madam or sir about Thames Law and Eastern Kir. So they portray how there was one wonderful. I will take one more minute, ma'am, please. From Eastern Kir's work, that was closely associated with one North Indian boy who was beaten in Delhi some time back. So even now we had similar incident that happened somewhere in Uttarakhand or somewhere. So there was bias. No, they write about that kind of a bias. No, how they were the northeastern people were not included into the discourses of the mainland, as Madam has pointed out.
Yes, sir.
Terms like
Yes, sir. Yes,
Thames
sir.
Law and Eastern Kir. So those biases are how these different things, like
And
naming.
even we can also check that what is being written is authentic or not. Is there any gap in writing or understanding that can be also meet out, sir?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And the naming of projects, or the way movies or popular narratives, like these mega, what are the web series and these things. Now, how do they promote this nationalism? So these are the things that are now we are experiencing a different kind of memory. You know, we glorify anything that is nationalistic, and we glorify certain. We are subscribing to an entirely alternative history. It is not the established history. We tend to believe that yes, this is what may have happened, or if this has happened, this is what happened. Like, you know, so it may be the significance of those cultural reinforcements. So the rituals, like here, for example, the rituals, the public art forms. So, for example, in Tamil Nadu, we have these. There is a reinvention of those public art forms. No, so there are the ancient art forms are reinvented. They are performed en masse in our temples, in other things. No, there is social engagement through these art forms, which are ignored long back, but now they are all reinvented, and people are participating in those things. They are not performed by some artisans and watched by people. See, the difference is people participate in those art forms. Now, here in our part of Tamil Nadu, there is an art form called Vallikumi. You all might have seen. No, even if you can search in YouTube, you can find in Isha Foundation. Thousands of people gathered, and they have performed that Vallikumi before that Adiyogi statue. Yes, and this is the reinforcement. Why we are reinventing our cultural past? We think that yes, these are the things that I consider to be more significant. No, in our part of India, previously we thought that all our cultural forms are inferior. All our cultural identities, no, wearing our clothes, eating our food, they're considered to be inferior. No, whatever is the tradition, the other traditions are considered to be significant. But now we think that it is our own culture, the kind of clothes that we are wearing, the kind of the performances, the religious performances on the positive side. On the negative side, there are so much of bias that is promoted by these things. You know, that whatever we receive information, they are not true information. They carry multiple biases. They are created by. No, so Arjun Appadurai, he explains how these scapes are created for the purposes of globalization, for the purposes of commercial benefits. Things are happening. The information that we are made to believe that these things are happening. So, as I told you, so we may ask many questions related to public monuments or public systems of remembrance. How do they function, and how the cultural forms are reinvented again and again to reinforce our cultural traditions? Why this is happening? So nowadays, we may get more of such projects. So even now, there were some projects that were asked by ICS, where they have asked for digital humanities, the archivals and medical humanities, how these medicinal practices, which were ignored in those days, which were being reinvented, again given some glorification. So everywhere, this is not merely a theoretical analysis. When we associate it, it is very practical and which can be substantiated with the practical examples. So it has the potential. If we ask those questions, I have given you some questions now how human memory is probed in the public forms. They have the huge potential to fetch us some good funding.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Padmanabhan. Any other question is there? Anyone who would like to ask a question?
Hello, sir.
Sir,
Yeah, it's not a question, it's only an observation.
sir.
But nowadays, I believe it's more of a question of agency, like who does that? And that's also a part of understanding of memory studies, and also naturally, so who has the right? That is very important to narrate such stories. Who decides?
Yes.
What is the source of all that? Because and suddenly we have new and new, as you have maybe the term may not have been there, but I would say there are what we call as something called memory agents working. So such agents, like they as you said, recreate and reconstruct, despite all that, and that is now added, into our collective memory as part of the or embedded in public discourse. That is also there, and it suddenly the nature and the color of the group identity can also change.
Yes,
So
sir.
I believe that is also happening along with this. Okay, so wonderful, sir. It was thank you. That's just an observation because
Thank you.
agency is also very important now. That is why. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Padmanabhan sir, there is a question. Sir, could you tell again the name of the cognitive scientist who studies dreams, which you mentioned earlier?
Isabel Jean, sir. Isabella Jean.
Okay.
Jean. Yes, sir. And there is a question, nostalgia. Yes, ma'am. No, it is more of emotional, fond memories or emotional ones that we carry.
Right. Sir, there are comments like excellent talk, sir. Yes, indeed, it was an insightful session, plenty of food for thought, and lot many wonderful talks, sir. Thanks for this enriching session. So thank you very much, Dr. Padmanabhan, for not only making us to understand the memory studies, but at the same time, you have narrated the purpose of literature to understand the human nature. And in the world of software and hardware, we are unable to identify the human ware. So we need to identify the human ware first, then comes the software and the hardware.
Yes.
And even in the world of artificial intelligence, we are unable to understand the natural intelligence. So natural intelligence has to be there. So these talks and these discussions, these forums and these what you call it as discourses, they make us to understand one particular fact, that we are not only gaining knowledge from each other, but at the same time we need to apply the thing. The theories are to be applied as far as research is concerned. So you have not only narrated about the social memory and collective memory, but you have made a difference between collective memory and history also. And literature, as far as literature is concerned, it has immense power and potential, not only to represent the state of mind of the writer, but at the same time it makes the reader to understand. And it's always said, when the work reaches the hands of the reader, the writer dies. So the writer is dead. That's why the reader becomes the person who can make it understand in such a way. And what Dr. Murli was talking about, like people are recreating memories, like you said, learn, relearn, unlearn, in the same way, memorize, rememorize, and unmemorize. Then you need not to memorize many of the things, because we are making you to memorize these things. So these things are to be memorized, others are to be left out. So there are many of the things which can be discussed at length about it. So thank you very much, sir, on behalf of Indigenous Society for the Promotion of English Language and Literature, iSPELL. I take this opportunity to thank you on behalf of all the participants, on behalf of iSPELL. Indeed, it's a great session, and we would look forward to many of the sessions from you. And for the participants, we have posted the link with your attendance. You can seek your certificate. Over to Pramod.
Yes, sir.
Yes, Pramod. We proudly honor Dr. B Padmanabhan by presenting him the certificate of appreciation on behalf of iSPELL.
Thank you, sir.
Padmanabhan sir, kindly accept it. This
Thank
is
you,
the
sir.
virtual certificate, and it will be sent to you through email and WhatsApp also, sir. So
Sure, sir.
thank you
Thank
very
you.
much, sir. Keep
Thank you, sir.
enlightening us on various issues. And this is our first monthly Sahityak Satsang that we started on 10th of January 2026. In the month of February, again, we shall meet with another person, with another interesting topic. Till then, stay connected, keep yourself hale and healthy, and wish you all the very best. Thank you very much, and good
Thank you,
night.
sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Yeah. Thank you, all the
Thank you,
participants.
Pramod,
Thank you,
for
sir.
doing all the work behind the screen, for recording, and also making us to understand nuances of memory studies from Dr. Padmanabhan. So thanks to Mr. Pramod.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Let's call it a day. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.